Oregon Republican Senator Gordon Smith was recently scheduled to join a congressional delegation to Iraq, but that trip was canceled due to security concerns. Senator Gordon Smith is with me now to talk about American policy in Iraq. Senator, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Judy.
Your trip was canceled, as we said, for security reasons. We now see more than 700 American young men and women have lost their lives there. Just over the weekend, 12 over the weekend alone. How concerned are you about the security situation?
Well, I'm enormously concerned, and like all Americans, I hate these casualties. The hardest thing in our job is to watch our young people risk their lives and lose their lives. And we canceled the trip because we wanted them to be focused on the bad guys, not guarding us. It's important we go over there, but it's also important that that we not be in the way of them doing their job.
And you felt that that might have been the case.
Yes.
Is it by now, had you expected that the casualties would have diminished, trailed off?
I had hoped, but on the other hand, I think the June 30th deadline is bringing people out of the shadows, those who want to compete for power, those who have something to lose. And frankly, I think it's a good thing that we press ahead with this and show the American people we're making progress, that we're pulling out. I also want to say that I think those who would hide in mosques and holy ground risk that becoming war ground, because they forfeit the right that it become holy ground if they're going to commit murder from there.
You're referring to the supporters of the cleric al-Sadr. The Bush administration, as you know very well, is now supporting a plan that the UN envoy, Mr. Brahimi, came up with that would turn over control of Iraq in the short run to a non-U.S. entity. This is something that John Kerry has been calling for some time, but as I understand it last week, you were critical of bringing the UN in. Clear that up for me.
I think the UN can do a few things well. They can be helpful in this way, but let's face it, they do a lot of things poorly. They have no policy on genocide. They've not been willing to stand up in places like Kosovo and Rwanda or Iraq. And in my view, to commit American security to the Security Council is a grave mistake. Can they be helpful? Yes, but should the American people be counting on the UN to protect them? Absolutely not.
So do you think it's a mistake to let the Brahimi plan go forward?
I think it's a plan that we ought to utilize. If they can be helpful, fine, but let's understand that this whole call for internationalization is very illusory. At the end of the day, a lot of people are, when the first shot comes, they leave. And frankly, I think even Osama bin Laden understands that. Unfortunately, in Europe, there's lots of uncertainties, lots of weakness, and they're playing upon that. So it's time for the American people to understand their security is with Americans and with the British and with some of our friends who are standing with us.
And you don't think that makes the Americans every bit the target that we have been right up until now?
At the end of the day, in Kosovo and in other places, America had to come to the rescue because the UN and others who were charged with enforcing peace were unwilling to do it. It comes with world leadership. It's a sad fact. But we have gotten into this because 9/11 occurred. I have always believed that Osama bin Laden, who was responsible for that, owes the apology. But I also believe that there's a confederacy of terrorism, and Saddam Hussein was at the center of fomenting and financing terrorism. And I support the president in this action.
You're trying to reschedule your trip?
We will reschedule it at a time when we can do so without being a distraction to the troops who need to look to their own security right now.
Senator Gordon Smith, who is a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee.